Welcome to Our Certain Point of View, where your hosts, Jim and Tim, will bring you new weekly discussions about the Star Wars universe. Our Certain Point of View is a fan-based podcast and has no connections with Disney, Lucasfilm, or any of their subsidiaries.
He says he was born ready, but
Hello
I
there.
can record. Hello there. Hello, everyone. This is Our Certain Point of View, and my name is Jim. I'm quite sure of it.
Yeah, not like last time. I'm Tim.
That's Tim. I'm Jim. And today we will be talking about The Mandalorian Chapter 7,
The Reckoning.
Yeah. In case you missed it, yesterday we did release a very brief kind of recap about everything leading up to the movie Rise of Skywalker, which we today are recording on December 19th, which means guess what happens today, Tim? The Rise of Skywalker is released. I'm sorry. I'm excited.
We'll be going to see a movie.
You will be going to see a movie.
Yes.
Can I go with you?
Absolutely.
Good. Yay.
Maybe we'll talk about it, and some of these people can listen.
And I paid Tim back, so I don't owe him money anymore. So
True story.
It's true. All right, so news before we can get into The Mandalorian.
With interest. Not extra money. He was just interested in
I was very
giving me
interested
money.
in paying back. So the news is today is Thursday, December 19th, which means today is the day Rise of Skywalker is released. And we will see it at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is, I think, the earliest it's released, period. I think they base everything on Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, there's some kind of
Yes.
5 o'clock party or something where you go and you paid for a different kind of ticket and you did some extra stuff, but I don't think the movie's any earlier.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So that's our news. As always, shout out to Gordon and Arden and the Netherlands. Netherlands audience continues to grow. I like that.
Yeah, it does.
That's exciting. I once had the great pleasure to teach someone from the Netherlands, and they were very bright. Maybe they're even listening. But anyway, enjoyed hearing about that place. I'd love to go there sometime. We got some mea culpas from last week.
Yeah.
Clancy Brown. Tim mentioned that he was in the episode, but I failed to really just talk about how much I love Clancy Brown. He played Berg, for those of you who aren't familiar, but I just wanted to mention he's the Kurgan from Highlander, and Highlander is one of my favorite movies. So, the Kurgan.
I made a whoops in
There can be only one.
in my note recording with Matt Lanter.
Yes. Lanter.
With Matt, and he was a rebel, or not a rebel, a New Republic officer. But he was the New Republic officer, of course. That was what was his name? Davin. Devon. Davin?
Yeah, Davin.
David.
No, Dovin.
He was David.
He was the guy with the matching shoes and belt.
Yeah, he had the white shoes. They were nice shoes. So I recorded it with my TIE Fighter people and
Anakin.
put him in the wrong place. When clearly he was standing right there in front of us.
I think that's it for our mea culpas from last week.
Yeah.
Anyway, please, as always, if you like what you hear, or even if you mildly like what you hear, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It is how we grow the show, and we appreciate everyone who's taken the time to do that so far. And our countdowns. How many days till Rise of Skywalker? Tim, any guesses?
That's a great
This
big
is math again.
0. I'll tell you at the time, yeah, 0.
The Greeks didn't have the concept of 0. It came to us via India.
Yeah.
Anyway, 0. So the Greeks would not understand how much time was between now and then. Math. Clone Wars, Season 7 at the furthest.
72.
72. Man, we're into double digits. Star Wars Day, May the 4th.
137 days away.
So make sure you put out your May the 4th tree and get ready for that.
Yeah.
Star Wars Celebration.
252 days away.
252, August
Anaheim.
27th in Anaheim, California. Our California audience continues to grow as well.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
California took back over as the number 2 state of listeners right now.
Number 2.
Texas was holding number 2 for a long time, and California's
They're competing.
been on
They're
the
always
rise.
competing. Only one cannoli. Not much to say other than I continue to get more and more excited because of who directed this episode of The Mandalorian.
And I'm thinking more about this Obi-Wan series will come out, but I think it's going to be after the new year that we start to hear more.
Yeah.
Because of all the hype around Mandalorian, all the hype around Rise of Skywalker. I expect us to start hearing it, and I bet we start hearing it soon.
I bet you're right.
So that we don't, like Disney and Lucasfilm, they're going to keep this whole,
Momentum.
we've got stuff going, and it's great stuff. People were worried before about the rush. This isn't rushed. It's just
Deborah Chow.
it's kind of happening, yeah.
And she's definitely proven herself with The Mandalorian this season.
Yeah.
And the episode we're about to talk about, as a matter of fact, I think we're ready to talk about it now, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So let's talk some Mandalorian Chapter 7, The Reckoning, written by
Jon Favreau.
Yeah, and you can tell that we have now gotten back to the main storyline. It's interesting. I've listened to a lot of other people talking about The Mandalorian as a show or read articles, and a lot of them seems to be kind of two schools of thought. Either we're progressing or pushing forward the main storyline, and that's good, or we're wasting time with these kind of bottle type episodes. I think that's just a new way people think about TV with the whole binging thing. That, TV used to be very episodic. I like the blend that they're doing here because I think every episode does push forward the narrative at least a little bit.
I do, and I think we addressed this last time with Favreau writing the 6 episodes.
Yeah,
he did the first 4. He's doing the last 2.
Yep.
Or he did the last 2, but we'll see them. And he's also got, and then the other 2 wrote different episodes. So there's going to be a slight difference from that main story, and they probably weren't supposed to push it too much.
Correct.
But I like the way they've done it. Those 2 stories were great. In fact, and we kind of mentioned this, we've read some stuff about this episode from other people.
Yeah.
Where they were kind of hit or miss on how they felt about it.
Yeah, so was this a good episode, bad episode, or what was this? And I loved it. This competes for one of my favorite episodes. And whenever people seemed to feel like it wasn't a great episode, it was more they seemed like it was depressing than it was
so
bad.
there are 2 big pieces to that. I think the sadness is a big one for some people.
It's sad.
But I also think the 2 episodic episodes we had, those 2 chapters.
Yeah.
That would have sounded better. Episodic chapters.
Episodic chapters.
Those 2 episodic chapters that we just had
Pew, pew.
at 5 and 6, pew pew, were so good.
So good.
That when we came back into the storyline and it was moving a different way, it didn't have that strong end or that firm, complete end like the others
Right,
did.
didn't just wrap up with a bow.
Right.
Yep.
I think that had some impact because we started to get that and feel that, and then I think people were like, "Oh no, but this one didn't," and I think you can get some of the pieces from that.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that this is the first one that's not being released on a Friday. Well, the very first one wasn't. But, I mean, we got a week and a half to wait. So they left us with a cliffhanger and a week and a half as opposed to just a week.
I'm going to tell you what.
Tell me what.
All of our friends that we're talking to right now, they knew when this episode was coming out.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was really surprised at the number of people who are regular watchers who did not know the episode was coming.
Yeah, I got a lot of messages about that. They were surprised at how fast it came
and
out.
I told them the same thing. I'm like,
If you listen to the podcast?
If you listen to the podcast, you'd know, because all our listeners know.
I said, listen to the podcast and please leave us a 5-star rating at Apple, iTunes, or wherever you may listen.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And send suggestions.
Let's get in on, let's start our recap, shall we?
Yeah.
So this is a 40-minute episode, so it's a long one. And I thought we hadn't ever really talked about the recaps that they have at the beginning of each episode, last time on Mandalorian type stuff.
Yeah.
This one had a theme to it, though. Did you notice?
It did.
What?
All his friends.
Not only all his friends.
Well, a bunch of the beings.
Well, beyond just showing us old characters. They kept mentioning codes, man of honor, guild, the rules of the guild.
Oh yeah.
So that was a big theme of the recap, is that the Mandalorian is a guy who lives by a code. Now, it seems to be 2 codes, like the code of Mandalore and originally the code of the bounty hunter.
Which is a little bit better because they had Quinn in the recap, and he was not part of the episode.
No, he was not, and that's what made me. Yep, that's what made me bring it up.
Why was he in there, and that made you look a little harder? All right, I like it. Good job. I didn't catch that.
The only reason he was in that recap was to mention you're a man of honor. All right, so now let's actually start it. We're on a ship.
Yeah, Grief Karga.
Grief Karga contacts our man, the Mandalorian.
Yep.
And he wants to call it even.
I love that. He says, I guess we can call it even.
So if the
I'm still alive, if you didn't notice.
Yeah, and if you're getting this, you must still be alive.
Yeah.
He has a job for our guy, the Mandalorian, and he says, if you do it, then we'll be even. So they, apparently on Navarro, they've had a lot of trouble with the Imperials ever since the Mandalorian left. So now the client has brought in reinforcements, and the Bounty Hunters Guild is feeling it, and Karga wants to make a deal. And what it looks like is we'll use the child as bait, and the Mandalorian will kill the client, and then they'll call it done. And here we see the honor thing again. He says, "For a man of honor should not be forced to live in exile."
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I like that line a lot.
Yeah, that was a good line. Over and over again, it came across to me how Karga talks. He talks very theatrically, very dramatically, in how he addresses things.
Can we bring up Obi-Wan Kenobi here?
Who? Yes. Yeah.
And
who?
Yoda. Actual Yoda, not Baby Yoda.
Well, Baby Yoda's not Yoda.
Right, I know. That's why I said Yoda when I say Yoda.
It's funny how many people are confused by that.
Because people keep calling him Baby Yoda and not Gizmo like they should.
Okay, so you want to bring up Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think?
I do. A man of honor should not be forced to live in exile.
Oh, Obi-Wan had to live in exile.
Just makes me sad.
Yoda, the real Yoda,
and Yoda
had to live in exile. The baby Yoda, is he a man of honor?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we got some questions here, don't we?
He's a little murdery.
He's a little murdery. That's a good way to put that. All right, well, then the Mandalorian plots a course. We're not sure where, but we see he gets Grief's message, plots a course, and boom, that's the end of the cold open. And where does he go?
He goes to Sorgon.
He goes to Sorgon, and he finds there an old friend.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune, what's she doing?
She's fighting a Savage-sized Zabrak.
Yeah, he's a big Zabrak.
Yeah.
Because most of these guys...
But not like regular Savage size,
yeah.
like after he was magically enhanced.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's a big muscly type.
But we assume he's Zabrak. He looks...
He's got the horns.
Similar. He's got the horns. He's got some lines on his face.
He looks like the Zabrak from Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, they're a little more muted, but...
Yeah.
But I could see Zabrak that's not... there could be other lines of Zabrak that...
Do we need to talk about this fight at all other than Cara Dune? It's a fun fight. I mean, it's clearly, it's for money. It's a sparring fight. It's not a real fight.
The rope was interesting.
I thought it was cool.
The kind of lasery rope.
I like the way they tap out by turning the thing off. That was a cool little,
Yeah, it was a strange... The idea of the rope was a little strange for me because if they don't have a direct line to each other, it feels like they shouldn't...
I don't know what you're saying. You're pointing at your finger.
The two belts.
Yeah. Well, I know the rope you're talking about.
If they didn't have a direct line to each other, then I feel like it shouldn't have been able to send that... It was a strange...
It's the same way the motors on the pod racers stay connected. Remember that? They had like
they stayed in a direct line.
Yeah.
That bolt went away if they were... So like when she wrapped it around...
been able to wrap around that. It's like a lasso of truth.
Yeah, it was just strange. I'm not saying it's not possible because it's the Star Wars galaxy. I don't know everything that's possible there.
Guy tapped out and she said, "Pay up, mud scuffers."
Yeah,
she seemed like she was happy, didn't she?
Yeah.
She seemed to be enjoying herself. And along comes the Mandalorian.
So we assume that mud scuffers is a term of endearment.
I think it's kind of, can I say bastards? Kind of one of those things.
Yeah, I was more on the MF. That's,
yeah, I think it's kind of a bar term that you might call people in a jolly sort of way.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, scumbags. You guys are all the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me my money.
For he who sheds his blood with me today shall be called a mud scuffer.
Yes.
All right. So Mandalorian's like, got a job for you, and she says, anyone who runs my chain code, she's gonna get arrested. And she said, he said, I thought you were a veteran.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, but she's done a lot of stuff that will land her in a New Republic prison for life. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, she said there's a lot of things, most of them carry a life sentence. A lot of things I've done, most of them carry a life sentence.
Yeah, so against the New Republic, so that's kind of interesting. So anyway, he does convince her to join him, because at first she's like, I've already got a life free of worry. What does he say that convinces her to take this job?
He's not a warlord. He's Imperial.
He's Imperial.
Yeah.
And she just, no hesitation, says, I'm in. So that was kind of another little glimpse into how much Cara Dune hates the imps, as they call them, for the rest of the episode. So
that was an interesting slang, too.
Now we're back on the ship.
We are.
We're ready to go.
Yeah.
And she's going through his weapons locker, like everyone seems to do.
Is he all right up there alone?
Is he what?
Is he all right up there alone?
Oh, is Baby all right up there alone?
Yeah.
Yeah, they leave Baby Yoda in the cockpit.
He goes, yeah.
Yeah, he's fine. Don't
and
worry
they
about
keep
it.
going. All right, so yeah, they go, and he says, tells her to Pick one, right?
Yeah. You know what's not in the weapons locker?
What's that?
His plasma rifle.
I didn't get to look yet, but I was told it was in the last episode. On the ship in the last episode.
It's not in that weapons locker. I paused
Not in the weapons locker.
So I watched this episode 3 times now.
We need to go back to episode 6.
And that rifle is gone.
Yeah.
How could they make that such a big part of his, of his assorted tools and equipment, and then it's been conspicuously missing for 3 episodes now? But yeah, the
that's
rifle's
been a little
gone.
weird, yeah.
Rifle's gone. So they're talking about how they have to go do this, and the kid won't be safe until this Imperial is gone. And they they make it very obvious that Baby Yoda's listening. He pokes his little head down the hatch when they say he won't be safe until they go back to Navarro and take out the client. So we
got
know
that. We
that
see
Baby
him kind of
Yoda
show
knows.
up. He knows.
And then what does he do?
The ship goes crazy.
Yeah. So this is a big question.
Yep.
Why does Baby Yoda do this? Is he just being a baby, or is...
I feel like he's saying don't go.
I do too. I feel like he's clearly trying to sabotage the mission.
Yes.
We have reason to believe he doesn't trust Cara Dune. Later on in the episode, we have reason to believe
I don't
Baby Yoda.
know that was a long-term trust. I think that was I think it's an immediate reaction.
Maybe.
To the situation.
I think he's got, you know what they say about still waters run deep. Maybe there's more to Baby Yoda than we know.
Because later on, or earlier, right before that, scratch all those things I said. At this very moment, the ship is going crazy, and they go back to the cockpit. And the Mandalorian grabs Baby Yoda and hands him to Cara Dune.
Correct.
And she doesn't...
Crush his head?
Right.
Nothing she doesn't hurt him. She treats him while she holds him. She doesn't look comfortable holding him. So he says, "Can you watch Baby Yoda?" And she says, "No. Do you got anyone you can trust?" And he does on a Villa 4, a Via 4, something like that. Do you know the name of that planet?
I don't know the name of that planet.
I think it's something like that, a Villa 4.
They haven't said it, and I never looked it up.
And there's an Ugnaught there.
There is an Ugnaught there.
And his name is Nick.
His name is Nick Queel.
Nick Queel Nolte. Our Ugnaught's back.
Yeah.
So Mando brings him to Queel, as we hear his name officially for the first time this episode. And what is now? This is interesting because the Mandalorian says, "I think he's a strand cast."
I think he's a strand cast
about Baby Yoda,
which is referring to cloning.
Yeah.
That he's not.
Yeah. So this is really interesting.
And I'm wondering at this point. I still feel like we're not far enough away that they don't know. Maybe they don't know who Yoda was. Like
I don't think they do.
You know, the funny thing is, we think about, and we know they have.
Like, I definitely don't think
the Empire created like news networks.
Yeah, they did.
We saw that, but it's still
I think it was called the HoloNet or something like that.
It's still so brief, and like there's not a lot of newscasting in that same way. It doesn't seem like throughout the galaxy.
Now's a good time to talk about this. How old are these people? Because the Ugnaught, Nick Nolte, Queel, mentions having worked for the Empire for 3 human lifetimes, but something we didn't talk about last week.
I think that's what he meant.
Well, he mentions how old he is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So he's been around through a lot of stuff.
Yes.
But something we didn't talk about last week.
Slavery for that amount of time, is what it seemed like. So he has no access to what is... whoever owns him doesn't want him to have access to.
He seems to know a lot for a guy who's been enslaved.
Yeah.
But what I was going with that is last week we didn't talk about this. Rand, who looks like he's probably, 60, maybe even a little older. He's somewhere around 60. Rand mentions, he keeps talking about the good old days with the Mandalorian. How long ago could that have been? Because the way he talks about that, it does make you think the Mandalorian is older than we might have suspected. His parents are killed by droids during the Clone Wars. So I don't know. I'm thinking the Mandalorian's closer to 40.
That was kind of my estimate too.
Yeah. So he's not a young man. He's not an old man, but he's a middle-aged man. Yes. Is what I'm starting to suspect. Anyway, so age is interesting. Mandalorian says thinks he's a strand cast, and Quill's response, I don't think it was engineered.
We still don't know the species of the Mandalorian.
No, we don't. So I was gonna talk about that too with his age. Like maybe he's not a human.
Like we have no idea. We know who's playing. Everybody's assuming they're like, no, we know because it's Oberon, right? Like
Yeah, we know who the actor is,
but we also know that Nick Nolte is an Ugnaught.
he is.
So,
But what he said, I don't think it was engineered. I've worked in the gene farms,
yeah,
and he looks evolved. So that's interesting because I've never bought into the idea that Baby Yoda was a clone. I've thought that the cloners wanted him to make clones.
right. That was my thought.
But what I was
too.
going to say about with the Mandalorian being how old he is, maybe there's things he remembers. He would have been a kid when the clone army was created, but he did see the client with someone with a Camino uniform on. So maybe he knows what that Camino uniform means, and maybe that's why he said maybe a strand cast. Because he saw a cloner. Because remember, he went in there and took the baby from this Camino guy as he was doing medical experiments on him.
Yeah, I would guess that he doesn't know the uniform, but that he does know that they were trying to extract.
He knows something about cloning. He's heard of it.
Yeah, they're trying to extract the blood or whatever from him, which.
But what did Quill say about Cara Dune?
Quill said, "Oh gosh, did I even write it down?" He said she could have been. She looks like she came out of the Saito Caves of Nora.
The Saito Caves of Nora. Yeah. I couldn't tell if that was a compliment or not.
I think that it was.
I think it was.
I think it was a very.
He basically said Baby Yoda's too ugly to be a clone, but Cara Dune's pretty enough to be a clone, or good looking enough. But
and strong enough and physically fit enough, and she was manufactured that way.
Imagine
I think that was there.
A clone army of Cara Dunes. That would be awesome.
That would be terrifying.
All right, and then he talks about how his tribe had served out their debt in slavery, because Cara Dune's very, very not happy to find out that he had been with the Empire during the war, but he explains it was slavery, not choice. And then in walks who?
IG-11.
I called it. He was coming back. Now I said the Jawas would fix him. Now in hindsight, it's like obvious that the Ugnaught would fix him.
Right.
But I love that they brought him back. So IG-11's there, and he's serving tea like a perfect little protocol droid.
Yeah. Why do you think? Why do you think he was allowed to take him there? Why do you think the Ugnaught was allowed to just lay claim to this droid?
I love that they mentioned the legality behind this. He said it was in accordance with the Charter of the New Republic.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like I really, really, really like that.
So whatever plan, the Sevilla 4, I guess they're trying to abide by the rules of the New Republic, but when we first got there, it was lawless. So he's trying to live by the law, even though...
I just really like his character. Like,
I do
he's
too.
Like this, that, yeah.
It's the wisest I've ever seen Nick Nolte. Take that for what it's worth. And then they do kind of a montage of him reprogramming and retraining IG-11. I think this is significant because in one scene he's very awkwardly moving stuff. He breaks a jug. He pours the slop in the wrong place, and he drops a box. Did you notice what he dropped the box on?
On one of those lizards, didn't he?
He killed the little lizards.
Yeah.
And so they make a scene of the next time he's putting down the box, he kind of nudges the lizard with his foot.
Like shakes his foot to shoo it away.
Doesn't kill it.
I really found this kind of interesting because it gave a whole different depth to the droids.
Yes, especially with his next lines.
Which was really interesting. It kind of made it seem... like when I looked at it, I saw kind of a Data-style neural network from, Data from Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Like a neural network, like he's actually growing and becoming... more.
Yeah. Well, he talks about imprinting personalities.
Yeah.
On these droids. So that was interesting. And he said it will...
yeah, is it still a hunter?
Yeah.
No.
No, but...
It will protect.
It will protect.
Yeah.
Mando doesn't seem to like the idea of working with IG-11 anymore.
He doesn't. And it was really interesting because throughout the conversations, he doesn't talk about a dislike for droids, which he's been very open about his dislike for droids.
Yeah.
This has not been a secret.
No.
But every time it comes up here, he says, I don't like that droid.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to cover up all his hatred by just saying, well, this one was hunting Baby Yoda, so I don't like it.
Well, and I can't figure that out. I can't figure out if he's trying to cover it up or if he's actually more upset with this one because of he thinks it's going to go after the baby.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think I think it's both. So he asks Quill to look after Baby Yoda. He says, I'm not suited for such work, but IG-11 can. And then the Mandalorian just straight up no, and here we get to a pretty interesting line. Droids are not good or bad, but neutral reflections of those who imprint them. I think that's going to be significant later on with IG-11.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And the Mandalorian just responds with, I've seen otherwise, which makes me, when you think about the droid army from the Clone Wars era, yeah, they're just straight up bad guys. So there's no, even when they seem silly, they're bad guys. They're just killing and kind of indiscriminately. Anyway.
Well, and there's not an imprinting. There's not a biological ownership to grow with them.
The droid army.
They're just what they are.
Yeah, they're just tanks that move on their own. So anyway, the kind of like Cara Dune, Quills doesn't need money and he has a nice life, but why does he join the Mandalorian?
To protect the child from imperial slavery.
Well, yeah, slavery, but did you get the rest of the line? None will be free.
Oh, until
the
the old ways are gone,
until the old ways are gone forever.
Yeah.
So he's got some altruism on his side. The Mandalorian does. And now we're back aboard the Razor Crest, and we got a friendly little. And the Quill insists that they bring the blargs.
Yes.
Bling the bargs.
Yes, we finally get him to say what we've been waiting for him to say through their entire conversation.
What?
I've spoken.
He has spoken.
Yeah.
We will bring the blargs.
Which was good because, I was listening to it and waiting, and the I have spoken seemed like it came out of his mouth a lot.
Sweet.
But it was the end of specific conversations, and then something else was happening. Where in this one, it was a long conversation about whether or not he was going to go, and then finally, it was done. I've spoken.
It's an exclamation point for him.
Yeah, this is the way.
So we're on board the ship.
We didn't say this is the way this episode.
No, I don't guess he did.
I mean, I did, but
you did.
Not in the.
Remember. Anyway, we're on board the Razor Crest, and they're arm wrestling. It's a friendly little scene.
Yeah, they are.
And what happens?
Well, all of a sudden, Cara Dune seems to have some trouble breathing.
She's having breathing complications. And Baby Yoda's got his little hand in the air.
Yes, he does.
Oh, and he's looking pretty upset.
Well, he looks kind of just focused, and then all of a sudden he
force chokes her.
He's force choking her, but then he starts to look angry.
Yeah, he does.
And he does a real quick clench of the fist to so very aggressive little movements from our sweet little cute baby.
Mandalorian figures out pretty quick what's going on, so he calms down Baby Yoda, reassures him.
No, she's a friend.
She's a friend. She realizes what's going on. She says, that is not okay, and it's not, because what's the deal with this? Is Baby Yoda a good guy, bad guy? So Nock writes me, and he says, well, I think they're going Grey Jedi story on us here, because that's a lot of what people are suspecting about potentially with Rey or Kylo, and no spoilers, because I don't know. We've only seen one Jedi ever use a Force choke before, and that was Luke. Never seen another Jedi use the Force choke. Well, Anakin did.
Yeah.
And yes, he was a Jedi, but we saw where he ended up. I think when he used Force choke as a Jedi, that was kind of foreshadowing he's not the nicest Jedi. And he ends up being a Dark Lord of the Sith. Luke doesn't. But Luke wrestles with being attracted to the dark side.
He does.
So is Baby Yoda dark side? Yes.
So...
Uh-oh.
The baby at this point,
dark
clearly
side.
Very, very strong.
Yeah.
Definitely has access to the Force. Definitely wants to protect the Mandalorian.
And what has the Mandalorian shown him every time there's a threat?
Kill it.
Kill it.
And I just don't think he understands. I don't know that it's a blend of light versus dark. I don't think that he's balancing the two. I think that at this point... he could end up being that later on, but at this point...
He tried to kill someone for arm wrestling. Come on.
He tried to save someone who was harming his Papa Bear.
His Papa Bear. Oh, Papa Bear.
You hear the shout out?
Shout out to Papa Bear.
Anywho, so that's how I took it. I mean, the babies don't understand.
Maybe.
And
I think he tried to kill someone, and that's pretty dark, by choking them to death.
I think he tried to stop someone, and that's just what happened.
Well, this is going to be counterbalanced really well with what happens with Grief Karga. So we got choking, and then we see some more Force powers in a little bit that we've never seen before in canon anyway.
This is really awesome.
All right, but yeah, so they freak out, and as they should. Cara Dune especially freaks out. And then Quill kind of chimes in. He's like, "This makes more sense. I've heard rumors of this," and he's talking about the Mudhorn. Now these powers are starting to. So the rumors that he's heard of this, Cara Dune, who's not happy at this point, says, "Did you hear these rumors when you're working for the Empire?" Which of course he did. He's not happy that by her implication there. This is where he talks about spent 3 of your human lifetimes enslaved to the Empire.
Well, he doesn't say enslaved to the Empire, so that was the part that I was kind of bringing up.
Indentured servitude is what he says, actually.
Yeah, so he said he was sold to the Empire, and that he was, I fought for my freedom with the skill of my hands and the labor of 3 of your human years.
That's true.
So he says 3 of your. So he says the labor of 3 of your human lifetimes. Yeah. So that could be 2 different things. It could be that I labored with the strength and skill of 3 people. Oh, yeah. I do think it was an amount of time, the way that I heard it, but it could have been that way.
Well, the Empire didn't last long enough for 3 human lifetimes.
3 human lifetimes, but he was in servitude, he was in slavery for a long time, and was eventually sold to the Empire. It doesn't mean that he was with the Empire that whole time. He could have been enslaved somewhere else. Yeah. So the 3 years is okay. And at this point...
Did you notice every time he got mad, the camera would go to IG-11?
Yeah,
that was kind of menacing. That was kind of cool.
And he was kind of because all the red lights aren't always on, right?
I don't know. I did notice
I noticed them. Like all the red lights were on at the top at this point, and I didn't actually go back to the beginning to see if it was the case when he walked in offering tea.
Well, they figured out the one way to make Quill mad. It seems like is to talk down about his service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. They kept flashing to IG-11, but I'm ready to get to... Well, they mentioned Navarro at this point. They start talking about Navarro and what happened there. And whether or not Cara Dune had ever been there. And she said she hadn't because apparently the Republic or the Rebellion had tried to take Navarro and never succeeded because it was wide open. The drop troops, the shock troopers, couldn't get a foothold. She also says something really interesting. When the Mandalorian talks about, well, he ran into the client there, he's an old Imperial, she wants to know what unit he's with, he says he doesn't have his insignia on, and she says, it seems like a throwaway line, but the 3rd time listening, I was like, huh. She says there's something more going on.
Yes.
So right away,
I got that right away. That was...
Well, this has to be a backwater planet, considering the way they're talking about it. That the Rebellion eventually even figured it wasn't even worth it and just left the Empire there.
Well, and I think that's kind of what she's getting to, is there's something bigger happening. It's not this little band of 12 guys who want this baby Yoda.
Yeah,
it's something bigger. There's something more going on.
Why else would Imperials show up on this backwater planet?
So here we see we have a quick cut scene and we see IG-11.
Yeah, we do. He's looking a little menacing here.
No, not here.
Yeah.
I have prepared second meal.
Oh, he says I have prepared. And what does Mando say?
Would you like to be served here or down below? He says, I'm not hungry.
Not hungry. And IG-11 turns to go. And he says, under no circumstances does it leave the ship.
Yep.
And she asked about, why are you so against droids? And
he said, I'm against that droid.
And then she says it's been reprogrammed. He said it goes against its nature to be peaceful, to take care of things. So, it's more than just programming. Violence is hardwired into this particular droid.
Which is really interesting to talk about something's nature for a machine versus, and like you said, how it's been wired and programmed. And
I think that was a comment on all of them.
Yeah, I think
on Cara Dune, on the Mandalorian, on Grief Karga, on the Imperials. Yeah, it goes against their nature to be peaceful. I think that's kind of a running theme of this whole thing. It's why, so many times, especially last episode, there's these references to the Mandalorian's past. Remember when Shen said, "Yeah, but you enjoyed it."
Yeah.
Talking about the last job they had done together, because that's his nature. You can't reprogram the Mandalorian either.
He was intemperate in his youth.
But he was intemperate in his youth. I like that. What's that from?
Patriot.
The Patriot, that's right.
Yeah.
I saw that movie. Anyway, so is the Mandalorian being reprogrammed to be a father? And can IG-11 be reprogrammed to be a protector of Baby Yoda? I think there was a lot of depth to that comment about it goes against his nature.
Yeah.
So we're ready to land on Navarro, aren't we?
Yep.
And we do.
Yeah, we do.
And there's someone waiting there for him. A guy named Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, Grief Karga. You know what other movie he was in? The Predator.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to be important in a second. Yeah. So Grief Karga's there. He's got a nice hole in his coat.
Yeah, he does.
Right above his heart. I love that they left that there. And he's accompanied by 3 bounty hunters. One of them has a giant salad bowl on his head. That's an odd costume. The other 2 look really tough and
I don't
scary.
think it even covered his whole face. I mean,
No,
his
it just
mouth
covered
was
his
up.
eyes.
Yeah.
Did not look effective.
I'm glad you said. I wasn't going to bring it up. I was going to let that one go. I'm glad you brought it up because I really wanted to talk about it. It was going to drive me nuts.
Well, he's got 3 bounty hunters, 2 of which look really kind of hardcore. The other one looks a little bit odd. So do you think Karga... So he mentions that the Mando comes out with the 3 blurgs and, accompanied by Quill and Cara Dune. And Karga starts doing his thing. He starts talking, greetings, Mandalorian. And, talking with his whole, theatrical way.
Yeah.
Do you think he would have killed the Mandalorian right then and there if he had been alone? Or he saw this and he's like, okay, the odds are a little too even.
I do.
I do too. I think that he was prepared to kill him right then and there.
Yeah, I don't think it at any time. And when he, it's in a couple minutes here, but when he actually goes to see the baby, Mandalorian, and it's very specific. This isn't like a sneaky thing. They're very direct with this. He's ready to draw.
Let's see the little one.
As is one of the other bounty hunters.
Yes, they do
came
a
with
great.
grief.
So much like an old school Western, how you see both their hands creep to their guns. Yep, and then when the tension starts to drop, you see the hands slowly withdraw from the guns. That was so well done. Yeah, not the salad bowl guy, but the guy in yellow. I couldn't identify his species. So I don't know what he was, but he's a pretty cool looking bounty hunter.
So it seems we both brought our, what did he say, our security detail?
Yep.
And then he hints that he doesn't think that we should bring the big shock trooper. Right?
Where is the little one? Yeah, he says, that she's going to cause
She should stay on the ship.
She should.
She should protect the ship because I'm scared of her and she might kill me.
The real reason is that the excuse he uses is there's a lot of Imperials there and her tattoo gives her away as a former shock trooper. I thought that was kind of cool.
It was cool.
Because you do see that a lot in the military.
He definitely didn't care that she was... So I don't think it was...
Former Republic?
Right. I mean,
yeah.
I think that it was a very smart play. Because he's definitely a smart guy.
Oh, yeah, Grief. I like Grief. The more I see him, the more I like him.
Yeah.
I like his showboating. He reminds me of Lando Calrissian. The way, Han, it's so good to see you, and hugs and all that stuff, but really, he's a guy trying to get by.
Yeah.
Like, he's not really evil or good. He's just a guy trying to get by, who I think is inclined to good when he can afford it, but not necessarily willing to be good if it costs him too much.
Right. Or anything.
I like Grief because that's pretty much just human. Anyway, so I was going to mention that they put their hands on the blasters when Grief is looking at Baby Yoda, and who wouldn't want to protect such a cute little wrinkled head, something like that. But yeah, the whole thing feels very Western. And the music is this really cool mix of kind of traditional instruments, but like with a techno style to it. So what a great fusion that Jon Favreau's hit here between outer space and westerns.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it. I'm like that kid in the meme turning around in his chair. I'm just gonna say it, Tim. Better than Firefly. What do you think?
Kid in the meme turning around in his chair.
No, don't worry about the meme. I said this is better than Firefly when it comes to hitting the sci-fi western. Serenity, Firefly.
I know Serenity and Firefly.
Because they were doing for that western sci-fi feel as well.
Yeah, Joss Whedon. They did a phenomenal.
They did a great job. I love the series. I like Mandalorian better though.
I definitely like Mandalorian better, but I'm partial to Mandalorian better because
it's Star Wars.
So I don't know. I haven't watched the Firefly series in
been a while,
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
At this point, I do have it. We should
that
watch
one
it
felt
sometime.
a little too western at times for me when it came to sci-fi. Like, I mean, I like it, but it doesn't make sense because there's something automatically, intrinsically anachronistic, if you will. Did you like that? Did I sound really smart right there? Intrinsically what did I say? anachronistic.
That was very alliterative.
Western, thank you. When you try to apply old school Western, I mean, 200 years ago stuff to future stuff.
See,
But
why
I think
does it work in
does
Star
better.
Wars?
Why does it work? Because Star Wars is fantasy.
Star Wars
not
was
sci-fi.
a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact, we get the idea of the devil because at some point, what was Berg? A Davronian made his way here, and he was on fire and didn't care. Is that where we get the devil from? We're back to Star Wars theology.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to camp by the river, which is... I didn't see a river. I saw lava. Maybe that's the type of river.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it was a lava river, which I thought was really cool because I go camping a lot.
By lava rivers?
No, not by lava rivers, but I thought this idea of the lava river, think about all the ground around it.
Yeah.
I imagine it's like warm camping.
Oh, it would be warm camping.
So you got kind of a warm ground.
But they built a fire to cook that beast thing. I guess they killed that thing.
They did. My wife saw that and she went, "Ooh, that!" Like they really focused on that. I wonder if that's going to be important. And then she goes, I said, "Nah, I don't think it'll come back." And then it was being cooked.
It was spitted and roasted.
Yeah.
It was intrinsically anachronistic. No, it wasn't. I just want to say it again. All right, so and now we see Quill. We got a nice little scene here around the campfire. Quill's feeding Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I guess the little bugger's a carnivore.
Yeah, that's what Grief says.
Grief says that. Now, we know
Never
three
seen
things about Baby Yoda.
Never seen anything like it, he says.
Yeah, about the species.
Yeah.
Right? We know that there's more than one.
They're green.
We know that they tend to be strong with the Force, or they seem to be. At least some of them are.
Big ears.
And they're carnivores.
Carnivores.
We still don't know anything new about the species.
So, Sith was a species.
Yes.
And Sith was originally, they were very strong in the Force. So is Baby Yoda the light side version? Is that species the light side version of the Sith, I wonder?
I don't think so.
But it'd be green versus red.
I'm gonna go Home Improvement style with Al in this case and say, I don't think so, Tim.
Am I Tim again?
Sure.
All right, Jim. I don't think so, Tim. Anyway, I do. I've figured it out. So Yoda species is the light side Force equivalent of the species called the Sith.
Yeah.
All that's legends now, though, I guess. Anyway,
so. What's the plan?
The next thing he says, I think this is important. He says it must be for some highfalutin menagerie.
Yeah.
And those of you not familiar with the menagerie, this is like it's kind of like a zoo of more exotic type
just
animals.
A collection of animals.
Private animals. Do you think Grief really believes this?
I don't know. I
don't for a second believe he thinks this.
I don't think so because
that's a lot of money, and this is
it's a lot of resources for a non-private collector to be going after it.
This sounds like a Grief nonsense. I didn't want to say what I was about to say. It sounds like Grief nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, we all know these people who will sit there and kind of lie right to you, but they'll do it in a boisterous and really, really confident manner to the point where it's almost insulting that they're lying to you. Like, why are you? Because clearly it's a lie. That's the impression I got. It's going to some highfalutin menagerie or something. It's like, okay, dude, no, there's no way Imperials.
It's like when your kid lies to you about why they didn't get something done for school.
Darn kids backing up our cars in the trees. We didn't play any commercials today. Anyway, this one must be free of charge. So, I think he's lying. And the Mandalorian ignores it altogether and says, what's the plan? So, what's the plan, Biggin?
Yep.
And what is the plan?
Enter the common house, show the client the bait, join him at the table, and then you kill him.
You kill him, Mando. And that's the plan.
Which means if it goes south, Grief wasn't involved.
Grief wasn't involved. The
right?
Mando somehow
if the
snuck
Mandalorian,
a weapon in, I guess.
Yeah.
I like the way he explains to Cara Dune about the, to Mandalorian both, because Mandalorian's like, well, what if it doesn't go down this way? What if the stormtroopers don't just suddenly, surrender? His line about, I'm their best path to alternative employment.
Yeah.
I like that, because it's true. I imagine a lot of these former Imperial soldiers found themselves working as mercenaries.
Mercenaries or security detail.
We saw one last episode. Mayfeld was former Imperial.
Yeah.
And he's working as a mercenary.
I imagine I imagine they go into a lot of private security. And then he says, this is right from Grief Karga. What line do you expect? Trust me.
Trust me.
Nothing can go wrong.
Nothing can go wrong.
And then immediately squeals because there are creatures coming out of the sky.
He gets attacked.
Yeah, they all do.
He also, before they get attacked, he says the client only has 4 guards, never travels with more than a fire team, which in the Army, a fire team is usually 6 people, actually. And that's who ends up being in there, 6 guys. Because usually a squad's 12. 2 fire teams. Anyway, what are we doing? They get attacked by something. What were those?
I don't know.
Look like tiny dragons.
Yeah, they were like
pterodactyls.
They were like Minoc pterodactyls. They didn't look like Minocs, but
that was my sound.
we know Minoc from the asteroids.
And now we know why they build their houses in canyons. Because these things are terrifying.
They are.
They're pretty rough. They carry off a blarg.
I do have an issue here. Why don't they know about these things?
Yeah, because all of them have spent time on this. Well, I mean,
Grief and the Mandalorian should know that these things are out here.
Yeah,
that was strange. I just had that thought now. I didn't. Like, once you said that, they built their houses in canyons.
They're cooking food in the open on a planet with little dragons. Yeah, that seems like a bad idea now that you mention it. So, yeah, right away, our guy, Grief, gets hit on the arm.
Yeah.
But then they begin an epic battle with these dragon-like beasts.
It is. It's chaos. There's a lot of stuff going on. They seem to not be able to hit them, which is interesting. Like, they must be really, really fast because there's a lot of struggle until they actually slow down
to grab stuff.
To pick up. Yeah, they pick up one of the blurgs and take it away, and then they try to pick up another one, and that's when they. I think Cara Dune gets that one.
Yeah, she does.
And then she tries to get the one that's standing on top of the Mandalorian, but for some reason doesn't hit that one.
Yeah, he burns that one.
But then he burns that one after.
And it flies away while on fire.
Yeah, and then the other one flees with it. Like, that's it.
And this is where... so one of our listeners, Jared, actually pointed this out. I think we get a nod to the movie Predator. Because we got Carl Weathers on the ground, his arm is mangled, and he says something along the lines of, "So this is how it ends."
Yeah.
And Cara Dune says something about, "Don't be so dramatic."
Don't be so dramatic, yeah.
So Cara Dune, being the soldier, has a med kit.
Yes.
I like that, because the rest of bounty hunters are mercenaries. She actually is a trained soldier, so she's got a med kit with her.
Yeah, the bounty hunters are like, if it goes south for me, I'm not making it out.
Yeah, that's just it.
That's their mentality, I guess.
But the med kit doesn't help.
No, and then the baby gets in the way. She says, "Get this thing out of here.
Get this thing out of here."
And Quill says,
Wait.
Yeah. He knows, that guy knows so much.
Quill's caged wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's poisonous. The wound is poisonous, Tim.
Yeah.
It's more than just ripped his arm open.
Which is interesting, because it didn't look like it bit him. It looked like it scratched him, so the scratch must be poison.
Poison talons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
cool.
like crows have. Yeah. Like crows have.
Yeah.
You're just going to let me say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here to correct Star Wars nonsense.
So
the rest of it you can have at.
They got those crow-like talons.
Yeah, it's crow-like talons.
But anyway.
Similar to a cat's tail.
So Baby Yoda comes out with his little hand out, and he touches the wound, and Grief yells the most memorable line from maybe the whole series.
"He's trying to eat me!
He's trying to eat me!" Papa Bear kept sending me text of, "He's trying to eat me." It was after before I saw the episode, actually, because I woke up early, yesterday morning, had forgotten, I know it's awful, that the episode had come out, and I get this text from Papa Bear that just simply says, "He's trying to eat me." And what might be weird about that is I instantly knew he was talking about The Mandalorian. I was like, oh no, got to watch it before I see anything else.
Yeah.
So he yells, "He's trying to eat me."
So there it is, Jim, a.k.a. Crow Poison.
Poison. Don't they have poison talons and big teeth? Crows? What am I thinking of? Maybe rabbits. Anyway, Monty Python, Holy Grail. Force healing, Tim.
Yes.
For the first time in canon.
Unless
you count the video games as canon, maybe.
Or Kanan.
Kanan. Did Kanan use force healing?
I don't know what happened, but do you know what I'm talking? I don't know if I want to say exactly what happened there because I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, there is a moment where he's using the force and we see some sort of healing type stuff.
You know what I'm talking
about?
I know
exactly what you're talking about.
That was I
don't want to be
that's
specific
in
either,
Rebels is awesome.
Rebels is awesome. That's one of the biggest moments in the whole series.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that series, like Tim seems to be.
Yeah, Rebels is awesome.
I don't know if he likes it as much as I do, but that's a huge moment in that series where they do. Yeah, he does seem to kind of use some force healing there.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not exactly the same.
That feeling, I need force healing.
And I don't know if that's...
Marvin Gaye?
That might be... See, now that might not be force healing. That might be something different, which I can't describe what it is. We'll talk about this outside of the podcast, and then we'll talk about it again when we do a Rebels podcast. But I do want to tell you what I think it is. This is actually the first healing of someone by someone that we see using the force, which is interesting because it's a full heal of the wound. The poison is extracted.
Gone. There's no scars.
The skin is closing even after the baby lets go.
I saw that. It kept healing. And the baby's exhausted, but not as exhausted as I think he was after the Mudhorn. Although he does sleep the rest of the episode, doesn't he?
Really tell if he does sleep the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
But he didn't look like he fell off like he did with the Mudhorn. He looked like he kind of stepped back and was tired, but not.
He was still awake. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who didn't sleep the rest of the episode? Me, because this thing is a white knuckle thrill ride from here on out.
Yeah, I had my chair, but I only needed the edge of it.
Only the edge. Yeah. So he force heals, and this seems to in the morning have a big effect on Karga.
Yes.
Because they get there to the town.
Now they're chatting. So he sees Grief and them chatting. I really like the line between the Mandalorian and Cara Dune at this point, before where you're at. Where they're talking about, does it seem like that something might be changing? He says maybe.
Keep an eye out.
And he said, I need your eyes. She said, I'm watching.
I'm watching.
I just liked. They're on the same page. They definitely work well together. Like, I love the two of them together, and I sincerely hope that we have them together throughout the remaining episodes and seasons. I don't want her to go anywhere or him to go anywhere.
She's awesome. Great addition. And then Karga, surprisingly fast.
So we see the hunters start to pull their guns.
Yeah,
Karga says it's time, and they pull their weapons. And then it was so fast. He
guns them down so fast, the Mandalorian and Cara Dune didn't have time to react.
Yes, this episode should not have been called The Reckoning. It should have been called The Gunslinger.
Yeah, he blasts both those two bounty hunters before, and then immediately holds his weapons up to show he's not a threat, because by the time Mandalorian and Cara Dune have their weapons out, he's already shot. Now, Mandalorian probably would have survived because of the Beskar, but Cara Dune would have been dead if he had been trying to.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. We saw how effective he was.
That was incredible. And it goes to show you, like, his role is, like, I don't know if he's the leader of the entire Bounty Hunter Guild or just a sect of it or a part of it. I can't tell, but he's definitely higher in the ranks. He's getting paid and doesn't have to go out and do stuff. Why? Because he's gone out and done stuff.
He's been there, done that.
Like, he's been given this position.
Holy cow,
and he's definitely earned it, because that was incredible.
Yes. So then he says, I was going to betray you. I was going to turn you over to the client, and you could gun me down right now, and here we have another mention of the code, and it wouldn't violate the code. So Grief has a code by which I think he very much lives by. So while we might see him as kind of the bad guy for going after the Mandalorian, I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's just got different rules he's playing by.
I think he went after him not because he wanted the money.
Yeah.
I think he went after him because he took the bounty contract. And he broke the Yeah.
So now they're really going to do the plan.
He even accepted payment.
Yeah, he did. He took the Beskar and then he took the baby back. Baby back. Anyway.
How does that code work? What if somebody else wanted the baby and he was hired to get the baby from the Imperials?
Well, I think at that point it's a new job.
Is it a new job or is it in violation of your previous contract?
No, I think it's a new job. I mean, once you've fulfilled the terms of the first contract, then done. Deal is done. But it was his guy who went rogue and just ruined the first contract, so I don't know. That complicates things. So anyway, now they're actually going to do the plan like they had originally said. They're going to go in there and use Mandalorian, and he suggests using the baby as bait. Mandalorian refuses to use the baby as bait and sends the baby back.
And we're still doubting Grief the whole time, right?
Honestly, I bought him this time. When he shot his two men, I was like, okay, he means it. So I didn't doubt him. You were still doubting him at this point?
I was nervous. I still have a little bit of nervousness in me, even at the end of the episode.
They make you doubt him when they're walking down the street. In a few minutes, we'll see, and Cara Dune says, "Give him his blaster." He says, "Not yet." I think that line was intentionally to make you doubt him.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he does later on.
Yeah, and I didn't doubt him. Actually.
I'm in pretty good shape. I was happy with it, but I still had my.
I think I'm still prejudiced by the fact that it's Carl Weathers. I just like Carl Weathers so much. He's a good guy.
I think that I'm still stuck on the he reminds me of Lando's character.
Yeah.
And Lando betrayed them, even though
Deal's
they
getting
eventually did come back around
worse and
too.
worse.
It still like gave me that, I don't know.
So a little interesting thing, if you're watching with the subtitles on, the Mandalorian tells Quill to take Baby Yoda back to the Razor Crest.
Yes.
And Razor Crest is in italics, which indicates it's a name.
Yeah, it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, so the ship, but clearly in the very first episode, that's the model. It's referred to because the mythical guy says it's an old Razor Crest, and clearly he's talking about the model. But it's been used as a proper name ever since. It's a proper noun, which means we capitalize it, children.
On the other side of that, it's old. I mean,
It's old.
It's old, and it's
The Razor Crest.
It's the Razor Crest. How many Razor Crests are flying around anymore? Probably
14.
not many.
2, 8.
Right? So you can refer to it just by that, and it's...
Let's do the old binders trick, like they did with Chewie. It's okay, Chewie. I think I know where he's going with this. So they put the binders on the Mandalorian, and they come in, and they've sent Quill back with Baby Yoda on a blurg.
On a blurg.
Which aren't very fast compared to speeder bikes.
Apparently they're super slow, because those speeder bikes left way later.
Yeah, but remember, it took them a day and a night to get to
Yeah, that's true, because they were kind of at the town.
And those speeder bikes look like they probably top over 100 easy. So
and it's open terrain,
like it
too.
Tops over maybe 15.
I mean, you're open terrain. They're not even...
No, they're not so...
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, speaking of speeder bikes, as we come into town, we see 2 scout troopers, which is awesome. We hadn't seen them before in the Mandalorian universe. And so they're just leaning there. They kind of look run down like most of this... the guys look, and they immediately ask for
his chain code.
Yep. He doesn't want to give it to him at first.
Yeah, he's like, I'm here to deliver something to the boss.
To the boss, man. And the guy just repeats himself, chain code.
Yeah, which is so it takes us back to which I really kind of find interesting and a little bit
chain code.
Nice. Like these guys, not nice, but
chain code.
The Empire, the Imperials are like,
yeah,
this is the way I do things. I was told. Check chain codes, period.
Yeah, it's very soldier at the gate.
This is what I'm going to do. And they kind of stepped, even though, like, they're like, when everything is falling apart, I've decided to stay this course. I'm staying it full.
Yeah, we stick with what we know, especially
However,
in times of chaos.
That's a pretty helmet, and I'd like it.
How much would you pay for that helmet?
I'll give you 20 credits
20 credits. That helmet's going on my wall. Yeah, so the speeder guy offers to buy the helmet. Ain't happening.
It's also worth. I don't know.
It's got to be worth a lot.
I don't know in full what credits are. Like I don't think they equal out to dollars the way it works, but it's definitely worth more than 20 credits the way we've seen money spent.
More than
yeah.
Anyway, they're walking down the street. We see there are a lot more than 4 troopers in this town. A lot more than 4 stormtroopers. There's stormtroopers everywhere.
Do you notice how intently that Baby Yoda was watching Papa Bear when they left?
Yeah, he didn't want to. He didn't want to be separated.
Yeah.
Anyway, at this point, they take a second to show us Quill riding as fast as he can with Baby Yoda, and then they go back to them walking down the street. Did you suspect anything? Do you think? Like the first time you watched it, and they go back to Quill and Baby Yoda.
I don't know.
It made me wonder why. Like, okay, there's something bad here, but I never, ever would have guessed how this was going to end.
Yeah.
Not even until it ended. And when it did end, I was still like, wait, did that just happen?
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
All right, so there are quite a few troops.
But we enter the room. And he says, see? 4. And there was only 4 in the room at first. And we see Werner Herzog again.
Yes.
He's so good at being a creepy bad guy.
He really is.
Did you see him caress the Mandalorian's chest? That was weird.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And he says, what does he say? Something about when forged by its ancestral artisans.
Right, ancestral artisans.
When forged
That's the only
by
thing I wrote down was
ancestral artisans. It's so beautiful when forged by its... That was my Werner Herzog. What do you think?
Yeah, it's great.
Was it good? When forged by its... anyway, it's a shame when people suffered.
Would you like some libations?
I want some libations. I got a libation right here.
To celebrate the closing of our shared narrative.
Mm.
I really like that line.
He says things like intrinsically anachronistic.
Yeah.
Our shared narrative. That is a great line to say. It's a story we've both been involved in. Anyway, and then he's talking about the Mandalore. It's a shame your people suffered. Why did Mandalore resist our expansion? The Empire improves any system it touches.
The Empire improves every
metric.
system it touches.
By any metric. Metric, of course, being any standards.
Yeah.
He speaks. He's a very educated guy. Safety, prosperity, trade opportunities, peace.
Now, he's also been fed all the nonsense data because some of that's garbage.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I would say that, the fact that a rebellion existed tells you that somebody wasn't happy. One metric he's leaving off is freedom. So that's a metric that he didn't seem to use.
Other is, well, he says it. He says, now I see nothing but death and chaos, right? Like, that's what the world's like now. But it was maybe not quite so chaotic under the Empire.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of death caused by the Empire.
Well, the people of Alderaan probably were not entirely happy. Well, they didn't know
I have not heard a single person from Alderaan complain about their treatment under the Empire.
That's true.
Except for Leia.
They're
She's not even
peaceful
really
people.
from Alderaan.
She's not a native. She wasn't born there. She
Yeah.
couldn't be president of Alderaan.
Yeah, nobody that's
Just
native.
princess.
Nobody that's native to Alderaan had any complaint.
No, they did not complain at all. Well, it was as if millions of people suddenly cried out. So
And
maybe
they
there
were
was
suddenly
one
silenced.
short complaint.
By all of them.
Made Obi-Wan's head hurt.
We're trying to make light of this because it makes us very sad.
I'm so sad right now. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
Let me see the baby. He says for the first time, I think, in Star Wars history, pram.
Yeah.
I get to push the pram a lot. See, that's from Monty Python as well. And this is probably the weakest excuse ever given.
He's sleeping.
He's sleeping. He says, "We'll be quiet."
We will all be quiet.
I love that.
He said, "We will. We all will be quiet." Yeah.
Open the pram, but he doesn't open the pram. Why? What happens?
No, don't think me to be rude. I must take this call.
Don't think me to be rude. All right.
I love that line too.
It
like
is.
everything about his character just fits. He's like, and it's the same thing. It's this
Herzog's
imperial officer who is dedicated to the Empire, dedicated to this way,
Yeah,
and
the
is
old
going
rhythms.
to continue no matter what. This is the way it is. We are at an appropriate meeting here, but I apologize. This is my commanding officer. I
Yep.
must go take this
I
call.
must take this call.
And we see, and he gives him by name, so we know he is Moff Gideon. Again,
Moff
calling him
Gideon,
by
his old
rank.
imperial title.
Which is good for them.
Excuse me, I must take this call.
And then he goes through a little chat here. Do you have it? Yes, it's sleeping.
Yes, it's sleeping. And this is when it happens.
And that was a weird thing for him to say.
But I did like that Cara Dune, while this is going on, whispers to Grief, there's more than 4.
She says more than 4. And the Mandalorian whispers to Grief, "Give me a blaster,"
And he does.
And he does.
No hesitation.
And that helped me a little bit.
Yeah.
But on that side,
I love the quote that Grief says. There are more. What can I tell you? It's like, yeah, deal with it. This is what
we're here
there's
now.
more.
You want to do it? We're going to do it.
And then we see Moff Gideon is played by Giancarlo Esposito, who I've been waiting for since the trailer.
Yep.
Because, of course, this is the infamous Gus Fring from Breaking Bad, just an amazing actor. Like Herzog himself, he just brings a strong presence to the camera.
Yes.
So beautiful. And then gets shot up.
Blows everyone away.
Yeah.
Like you almost think that it was the Mandalorian that shot him for a second. And then you're like, oh no, it's not. And they just wiped out all the Imperials, the imps, right? Like they wiped out all the imps inside.
Yeah.
And they're just Death Troopers, the line of Death Troopers firing into this building.
Yeah.
And these Death Troopers are very clean and polished.
Yes, they don't look run down like
and later on,
Stormtroopers.
in just a second here, the
More.
transport shows
Yes.
up, and white Stormtroopers get off, and these Stormtroopers are also clean and polished.
Yes, this looks like part of the Empire has remained.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that transport, because we're there now.
Yeah.
So the cantina or whatever, that building is shot up. Even the droid is killed. Somehow our 3 heroes survive, which is good. I guess it's good Baby Yoda wasn't in there, huh? Because I don't know if he would have survived. But
I don't know.
Place gets shot up.
In his new...
well, Gideon knows they're alive.
I'm a little bummed that we didn't get to see what...
He would have done?
No, I'm a little bummed we didn't get to see what Quill's pram
Good.
Like, I was expecting something crazy to happen. Like, when he was like,
I
I'll
thought-
just build him a new one. And I'm like, okay, what's this going to do?
Did you think there might be something? I still think there might be something hidden in that pram.
There
like
might be.
explosives.
That's
or,
kind of my
something.
thought, which is a little worrisome if there's an explosive in there that they had the baby locked in.
They're
But
thermal detonators. No, I mean, like, I think when they took Baby Yoda out, they put, like, thermal detonators or something
maybe.
in there. They,
oh, and I didn't get to say that at the beginning. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
All right,
when
so-
she was in the gun locker,
Yeah.
and he goes, take one.
Yeah.
She grabbed a thermal detonator.
Yeah, she did.
And then she grabbed like 3 guns.
Yeah, she grabbed a couple pistols and a giant repeating some sort of, like, machine gun.
It was just funny that he said, pick one.
And
she grabbed 3.
She took 3.
Anyway.
All right, so that transport, did you recognize that vehicle?
It was the one that they had in Rebels.
It's from the TV show Rebels, the cartoon. Have you seen Rebels?
Rebels is awesome.
Rebels is awesome. And one of the things that made Rebels awesome is they did a lot of fan service nods, and one of them is that transport. So Kenner made a action figure carry case, and they didn't want it to look like a carry case, so they called it a transport. But it really didn't look very practical because, like, the action figures are hanging on the outside of this thing. And Rebels basically kind of retcons this thing, and they're like, no, this is an actual transport. And so this is the first time we've seen it on film.
Yeah.
So that was really, really cool. So, we've seen that twice now, once in Rebels, once in Mandalorian. But that was a toy from the early 1980s.
Similar idea to our Comptono.
Really, 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 yes.
Remember they came back to that. So just that was awesome, yeah.
That means ice cream. All right, so now the Mandalorian's freaking out. And he makes a very fateful call.
Yeah.
He gets on his communicator. Quill, are you back? And why is this such a fateful call?
Because he wasn't back.
Yeah, but what does this lead to? It's a domino effect. This is what the speeder scouts intercept this call.
Oh, yes.
And when they hear it, then they go, ooh, and they jump on their bikes. Had he not made this call, Quill would have made it back to the ship.
How do they know which way to go?
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they just saw where the Mandalorian came from, and it is kind of desert. So you shoot an azimuth and just take off in that direction, or maybe they can pick up life signatures with their helmets, or
maybe
they are scouts. I don't know, but if he had not made that call, or if he had waited 10 minutes to make that call, or whatever. I love this because there's a tragic aspect to it. Because there's no way he could have known the consequences of making that call.
He'll never know that they picked up his transport. Like, that's...
Well, and the point of it was to leave. Don't wait for us. Leave. So he had to make the call.
Right.
But the call is what gets Quill killed.
And I got to tell you, I love that he made this call. Like, the call itself, like, he said, we're pinned down, get him out of here. Like, it was nothing else. It wasn't try to find a way, try to help us, bring the ship, leave. Get him out of here.
He says, bail, we are pinned down.
Yeah.
He says, get the baby and bail, we are pinned down. And Quill does respond, I think, the first time. But then every other time he tries to call, Quill's got his hands full.
Right.
And then the very last time...
he's on the ground.
Well, first we see Baby Yoda laying on the ground, right?
Yep.
Before we even get there, though, actually, the situation escalates at the fight scene. We see a TIE fighter land.
Yeah.
And we've never seen it land like that before.
That was really
so
cool.
The wings fold, and suddenly the thing's not very far off the ground.
So it's a bit lower. And I wonder...
Was that special for Giancarlo Esposito, Moff Gideon? I've never seen a Moff fly in a TIE fighter either.
Well, and it kind of makes me wonder if they're modifying them because before they were always leaving out of ships.
They got their Lambda-class
and
shuttles.
they could come up into the ships and get in, or they could drop down from the ship. But now there aren't so many ships for the Empire. Like, they don't have this big force.
Fleet,
they're landing TIE fighters directly on the ground. I wonder if his TIE fighter has a shield or hyperspace.
I'll bet his has both.
I wonder if it can fly with those wings down.
I wouldn't
if it's
think
not
so.
limited to its box space.
I don't know.
I mean, what do they do? Like, it's not like they're...
Well, I don't know. Those are the engines, but I don't know that they've ever figured out how those work.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, so if they can fold it all...
The twin ion engines.
Yeah.
Anyway, Moff Gideon gets out, and this is where he faces them, and Cara Dune says, "Who's this guy?" And nobody has an answer for her. And he gives a little speech here, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
You have something I want. You may think you have some idea of what you possess. You do not. And that's true. We don't. We know that this is a little Force baby. Oh, Force baby.
That's all we know.
And he continues to race Quill. While
he says it means more to me than you will ever know.
You will ever know. So he's in love with Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Is that right? No. In a few moments, it will be mine. Do you think he knew that the baby was being chased at this point? Like he had gotten a communication from the scouts?
I don't know. Because clearly when Quill set the communicators, he set it to the channel that...
Yeah, the speeder scouts were on.
So I don't know if he heard that, but there was no conversation about the scouts going.
Well, he says get him and get out of here. And we don't know what the speeder scouts are doing.
Right.
So I don't know. But he has let it be known on the radio that get it and get out of here. So the Imperials must know Baby Yoda's not in that building.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they all picked it up or if he knows.
It's interesting.
And because he could have even meant in a few minutes it'll be mine. You're stuck in this place and I have a full...
I guess if he thought Baby Yoda was in there, he would have just blown it up. Like I would.
Right.
I'm not going to fight a shock trooper and a Mandalorian. I'm going to just blow the building up. Especially since we saw he was willing to kill, his own people, Werner Herzog and all that. Anyway, he takes a moment to speechify him, and this is where we get to the final scene. Baby Yoda's on the ground, and it was sweet the way that speeder just kind of drifts a little bit and scoops him. That was cool, but then the camera pans. Is Quill dead?
That's what I wrote right here. Is Quill dead?
He's smoking and his eyes are open, which tells me he's dead. But then again, is Fennec Shand dead? Are we sure she was dead?
Right.
She was gut shot and left on that planet and gets picked up.
No, that's the question. So is he dead? Or was it smoke? Was it sand from where he fell? Like sand dust?
I think he might be dead.
I think it was smoke. But they could have shot, because the blurg was down. They could have shot the blurg and he could just be knocked out.
Yeah. And IG-11, he was only feet away from the Razor Crest. So IG-11 could come out there and help him.
Yep.
Was that what you expected? Let's go back to that, because now that we've seen it, we know it happened. But while you were watching it,
I expected IG-11 to come out and wipe out the scout troopers.
Me too.
So it raises the question of who shot Quill.
You don't think... I never thought about anyone other than the scout troopers.
Yeah.
You think IG-11 might have shot him?
I'm just saying.
Fulfilling his bounty after all? Interesting.
I don't think that happened.
Yeah, I don't either.
But it's something, because he never even came out. There had to be blaster fire from the scout troopers. IG-11 would have had to know that.
Yeah.
So what is he doing?
What's he doing in there?
And we didn't even see
He's
it.
making tea.
So he's going to find out. He's going to come out and find Quill, and he's going to be upset.
Yeah, I think this goes back
is where we're going.
Yeah, because Quill makes a point of saying they're imprinted with whoever programmed them, and now Quill's dead, and we saw Quill get mad, and the camera kept going to IG-11. I think IG-11's going to be on a little rampage, so I think the scout troopers killed Quill, and now IG-11's going to have a little vengeance on his little computer brain.
And I think it's going to help create
his neural network.
We kind of expected this crew to form earlier.
Yeah.
And I think coming into the show, I think we expected there to be a crew aboard the ship.
Yep.
Not just the Mandalorian.
Yep.
And I think all of this is leading into IG-11 joining the crew.
Well, like I said,
that's what it feels
since
like.
the beginning, the image that they showed was IG-11, the Mandalorian, and Cara Dune walking together.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're going to be next episode. They're going to destroy that town and get Baby Yoda back. It'll be interesting. So this is our first episode to end on a cliffhanger, and it is a cliffhanger. Baby Yoda's been taken. We think Quill's dead. I think he is dead.
I think so too.
Because his eyes were open. That's what makes me think he's dead. And our heroes are trapped. So this is a genuine cliffhanger. So next episode is our last episode of the season. I hope they don't pull like a Walking Dead type thing where they like to end seasons on cliffhangers. That I think is a cheap trick. And the writing's been so good in this, I don't think they would do something like that. They need to, it's okay to have storylines continue, but not cliffhangers.
I'm fairly certain that this was done filming and in production before they approved season 2.
Okay. Oh, then that would, so they'll put a little bow on this. So we should have some sort of satisfaction with how this ends.
It's got to be IG-11. I mean, it's got to just be that. I wonder if, you know what?
Huh.
I wonder if IG-11 was even on the ship.
Well, that's a good question.
I wonder if he left.
We don't see him again after.
Like they said to protect, like he will protect.
He'll protect.
And
the
I
baby.
wonder, like he didn't know they were coming back. he was headed off toward them.
Maybe.
It's also possible that Quill told him to get into town now and be there waiting.
So he is kind of our unknown when it comes to what's about to happen.
I'm excited. Now I'm excited about it.
Oh, very.
Well, I mean, I was already excited, but like all of the different things that he could be doing, there's only one small chance that he's something I don't want, and all of the other options are things that I would love. I'm really excited about that.
I think we're done with Werner Herzog, though.
Or they start the next episode with him just flying away. Yeah,
what about
Herzog got a
Mayfeld? Is he
huge
coming back?
hole in the chest.
Yeah, he did.
There was no question about that. That was a huge blaster bolt.
Yeah.
I don't know what that came from.
Well, did you see the holes in the wall, too? They were big holes in the wall.
That was wild.
So, too dark, this episode? It wasn't really that dark until Quill died, I didn't think. But when Quill dies, it hits you like a hammer. Because my daughter, she was just like mouth open. Because I'd seen it before her, so then I watched it again with her. And I was kind of watching her reaction at the end, just mouth open. You can see kind of she's upset.
Well, and I think a lot of that has to do with the Baby Yoda being grabbed now.
Yep, just laying defenseless on the ground, and a trooper grabs him.
That was really upsetting, and I think honestly, I think the darkest part is the Mandalorian calling out to Quill.
Yeah,
for fear of the baby. Like I think that was the part that hit me the hardest, and that might be a dad thing.
Yeah,
I think,
that's a good point.
Like I was like this, like, and then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh my gosh, I wanted to skip that whole radio talk.
He's a strong figure, and yet he's helpless to protect the one he cares about. Yep. Yeah, that was definitely powerful. So well done. Good job, Jon Favreau. And Deborah Chow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for Obi-Wan. If it's the same quality as these shows. Yeah. And they'll have Ewan McGregor in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the episode. So what are we looking forward to next week? I don't know.
I don't know.
Tonight we're going to see Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, we are.
Let me see. We're 4 hours away almost.
And not that you're not getting tired of our voices, but tomorrow we're going to briefly talk about Rise of Skywalker.
We're going to do a little recap of the movie. That will be spoilery as heck.
Yeah, it will.
So, but we'll warn you before we, so if you automatically download our podcast, then we'll start it with don't listen if you haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, it'll say spoiler probably before the title.
And maybe we'll get that guy to send us more commercials. I suspect the Crispy Critters and the Bird Insurance is the same guy. You suspect that?
Yeah, he seems like a well-rounded
entrepreneur type
individual. I will say
it.
Tomorrow's we'll recap some of the stuff and talk about maybe our instant feedback favorite scenes. We will have each seen it once by then, and then we'll come back and probably do another episode where we go a little deeper once we've seen it another time or two.
Yeah.
But this first one we are going to do right away. I'm thinking it's going to be a shorter episode for us.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
I don't imagine we're going to be real long in that one, but we do want to come back and talk about it right away. And,
yeah.
I'm really excited, and come on, Lucasfilm, dude. Give us what we need.
Bring it home.
Yeah.
We got to bring it home. This is it. Bring it home. All right. And I think we're done. Are we done?
This is the way.
This is the way. We have spoken.
Remember.
The
Force will be with you.
When?
Always.
All right, so I'm Jim.
And I'm Tim.
And this has been
Our Certain Point of View.
Goodbye, everybody. Say goodbye, Tim.
Goodbye.
Audio 1.